On the media review segment today, we'll be looking at emergency management situations in Nigeria, especially when it has to do with the media, the role of the media in emergency management situation. And to discuss that with me today in the studio is Mr. Philip Nyam, is a correspondent with the New Telegraph. You're welcome, Mr. Philip.
Thank you.
All right, sir. What is the role of the media? What role has the media played in emergency management situations in Nigeria? What can you say about this?
Of course, the role of the media is to report. You know, the media is the mirror of the society. They report what happens in the society. So also in the issue of crisis, the media also played a very important role in Nigeria by bringing to the doorstep of Nigerians what is happening in the society, the kind of challenges we are having. So the media has been up and doing, and I believe the media has done a lot, although a lot could still be done.
All right, so, a recent situation was what happened in Lagos recently, the fire outbreak due to the fall of a tanker on the highway. And a lot of people were there, you know, instead of running away, leaving that environment, they were seen taking pictures with their phones. Is it that they do not have enough information to know that in such a situation, they should think about their safety first? What can you really say about this?
Yeah, now we have the traditional media, and now we have the issue of new media, the social media, now which is being populated by people who are not trained as journalists, as professional journalists. So they do not have the information, they don't have the ethics, they don't know the ethics of the profession, and most of them have heard about some of these dangers, but yet people still endanger themselves because of the zeal to be the one to break the news. So whenever there's a disaster, people rush to the scene of the disaster, not minding the consequences. You know, in the wake of the bomb blast occasioned by Boko Haram attacks in the country, people were warned that whenever such a thing happened, you shouldn't rush to such a scene. Instead, you should stay away. But people will always do that. Even when we have cases of pipeline vandalism, you know, when there are broken pipelines, instead people rush to such place to scoop either fuel or kerosene. So most times people are carried away, you know, by the fact that they want to break the news, the fact that they want to show that they were the first people who happened to be at the scene of the event. So most times they forget that there are also dangers that are occasioned, you know, by such occurrences. So what happened in Lagos wasn't different from this. You know, there was a tanker accident. The vehicles, most vehicles were engulfed. Yes, people were carried away. You know, I want to be the first person to take this picture and send it out. And in the course of that, most of them were also engulfed in the crisis. They became victims. So it's not as if people are not educated or are not informed on this. Most people are aware, because I recall that even in places of worship, you know, like in churches, in mosques, people have been warned to stay away from events like that. But when it happens, they forget, and they're always there endangering their lives.
All right, so how best should the media handle, you know, this kind of situations, emergency situations, disasters, especially when it has to do with some very sensitive information? How should the media manage this?
Well, the media needs to be professional, it needs to be very sensitive, and they have to be very compassionate. Because in issues like this, the media has the obligation of reporting factually and at the same time with accuracy. And then they have to be very sensitive. What kind of pictures are you sending out as a professional media person? Is it the kind of pictures that will inflame the feelings? Is it the kind of pictures that will, instead of trying to douse the tension, will rather create tension in the polity? So the media needs to be very sensitive and at the same time compassionate, because, for example, the victims of such crisis, when you come in contact with them, you know, you need to show empathy. you need to be considerate. You know, you attend to them in a way that they will not feel offended. So the media, in reporting this crisis, needs to be highly professional. The ethics of the profession should be in the top burner in reporting crisis, so that we do not inflame the feelings, you know, of the victims or those who are affected.
All right, finally, what more can we do as media practitioners in Nigeria, you know, in managing emergency situations? What more can we do, especially in the area of educating and enlightening the people against, you know, such occurrences like what happened in Lagos, you know, managing the situations, creating more awareness on safety, personal safety, and the safety of the people around you? What more can we do?
And I think that's where the social media also has to play a very important role again, because you discover that most people now patronize the social media more than the traditional media. Yes. So the media needs to be very active on the social media, educating people and enlightening them on the dangers of patronizing events like this. Whenever there's a disaster, people should try to stay away and witness from a distance, observe that from a distance, but not for you to rush to the scene of such a crisis. And this has to be done also in the traditional media, the radio stations, the TV stations, the newspaper houses. Our reports should be centered on this. This is very key, because we have lost a lot of we've lost a lot of people, you know, through this crisis. People who ordinarily wouldn't have died, you know, they end up dying in the course of trying to cover such events. So we also educate people. If you are not a professional journalist and such a thing is happening, instead you should call a journalist that you know. You should inform media houses so that they will come and do their professional job. If you are not a professional, please stay away from the scene of such events to avoid further damage.
I would also like to ask you the relationship between the media and emergency management officials. Sometimes we have some conflicting situations, you know, trying to report the situation, and they're also trying to do their job. How do you think the media can handle this in terms of reporting the actual situation, reporting the right figures? Because sometimes we have conflicting figures in the media. How do you think we can handle this?
Yeah, we need to have a synergy between the media and the emergency management agencies, both at the national, at the state, and at the local level. Why there's always conflicting reports is because most times the journalist who is at the venue or at the scene of an event will not wait, because he's working with time. Yes. He has a deadline to meet. So he will not wait to follow up an issue up to the hospital. Most times when things like this happen, victims are moved to hospitals. The journalist may decide to count the number he has seen at the scene and go home with his reports. But the officer or officers of the emergency management agencies may have to go to hospitals where the victims have been transported to or transferred to, and then confirm the numbers at the hospitals. So in most cases, this brings some conflicting reports, because if a journalist reports that at the scene it was 20, and by the time they got to hospital, maybe about 5 or 10 of them survived, then it may be only 10 people that will be affected. So there needs to be a synergy, you know, flow of information between the management agencies and the media practitioners, so that they will marry their reports, marry their figures, so that we do not have different figures when the reports are finally put out in the public.
All right, sir. Sometimes we wait until some situations have happened. We wait till when something tragic has happened before we begin to make noise about such situations. For instance, this issue of tanker. Sometimes we have flooding, disaster in our communities. We wait until such things happen before we begin to do reports about it. What can you say to our media practitioners in Nigeria, especially in such situations? Now, we're in the rainy season, and a lot of communities are prone to flood. How do you think we can manage these situations? Must we really wait? till these disasters happen before we say something about it?
Well, I would say the media has been doing enough. There have been investigatory reports. I think even the NTA has what is called community reports, where they go into communities and dig out issues. So I think the response is from the authorities. The media has been doing a lot, but I'll still advise that the media should also do more, by going into investigative journalism and bringing out issues like this, which have the potential, of endangering the lives of people. So if there is such an event, the media should bring it to the fore, should bring it to the public, to the attention of the authorities, so that action could be taken.
All right. Finally, the people, the people should also play a particular role in all of this, in disaster management in Nigeria. What is your advice for Nigerians, especially when they have sensitive issues? Some people just take these matters, post it on social media, and you find out that this creates some kind of reprisal attacks in some crisis situations. So what is your advice for Nigerians in managing emergency situations?
Well, we need to be cautious, and we need to be sensitive, and we should also not sacrifice national interest in reporting issues like this. Because when you report an issue that is very sensitive in a negative manner, it creates consequences that may engulf the entire community or the entire country. So we need to be sensitive with the kind of information we push to the public. Especially those who send images, those who send photographs, they need to be careful. It's not everything that you post in the social media, because it affects people's sensitivities, and that is not good. So we need to be very cautious. There's this advert about security that when you see something, you say something. Yeah, but we should do that responsibly. We should do it in a manner that it will not aggravate the already bad situation that we have.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Philip. It's been nice discussing with you on the media segment today. Like Mr. Philip has said, when you see something, be very, very cautious in the way and manner you present the information. Thank you very much for joining us on the media segment today, and we hope that when next we call upon you, you'll be here with us.
It's my pleasure.
It's been a wonderful time on the media segments today. We hope that next week when you join us, we'll have more things to talk about on Media Review.
That was very insightful. Kende, it's time to go.
Yes, we had a good time discussing with Mr. Phillips on the role of the media in management and emergency management situations in Nigeria. I believe with what we've heard today, the people will be more aware and more awareness will be created through the media.
And also from what we heard from the FCT Emergency Management Agency, it is now known that emergency issues is not about government, it's about you. You should be the first response before calling for the coordinating agency. It was nice having you on Insight. As always, on behalf of all of us, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.